What is going on, guys? It's your boy Big Dylan and welcome back to another Destiny What to Use Weekly Heroic Strike Guide. This is basically where I go through the Heroic Strike modifiers and give you guys some suggestions as to what I think you should use in them this week. So the modifiers this week, we have Heroic, Solar Burn, Brawler and Shaft. Now the two good ones this week are Brawler and Solar Burn, so taking those two into consideration, we're going to start off with some weapons and then we'll get into basic builds and stuff like that. So for weapons this week, if you have any of the new raid weapons, you know, if you've got like the Solar Abyss Defiant, maybe you've just done the Vault of Glass raid and you've just gone and got yourself the brand new Vision of Confluence and you want to use these new weapons, then feel free to do that. That is also very good. Now again, for special and both for heavy, this goes for both of these, you're going to want to be using something with a solar modifier on them. So for your special weapon, you know, you could use something like the Invective if you want to sit back a little bit more and snipe. Could use the Icebreaker as you regen ammo over time. For heavy, you know, you might want to go for something like a powerhouse like the Gallahorn. If you want to go for something a little bit more, you know, precision like, you could use a Sleeper Stimulant. The Raise Lighter will also be absolutely amazing this week. But that's pretty much it for the weapons. Just make sure, again, you're using stuff with the solar modifier on. If you don't have any of these elemental primaries from the new raids, you can I always recommend a hand cannon or a scout rifle, you know, with a high impact rate on them, just as that obviously is going to give you more damage over time. Scout rifles are, in my opinion, by far the best PvE weapon, as they just cover all, you know, ranges. This is my scout rifle. I absolutely love this one. So that's pretty much it for the weapons. Now for the Warlock, with Solar Burn being a thing this week, I would recommend using your Sunsinger subclass. Now this is what I like to run on mine. This is my exact same build as my Watch the World burn build that I did like a long time ago actually. My Warlock basically uses solar flare grenades with the old school Viking Funeral Touch of Flame build. And you basically use the Sunbreakers, and obviously you get 2 solar grenades that way, and they actually last longer as well. If you don't have the Sunbreakers, you want to go for something a little bit more different. Maybe you want a little bit more heavy ammo to carry as well. You could actually just slap on some normal legendary gauntlets and use the Starfire Protocol. Now, Starfire Protocol as well, it actually gives you, if you put it on, extra heavy ammo. Now I love this chest piece as well because it gives you an additional fusion grenade. Now if you wanted to deal a hell of a lot more damage to the bosses, run fusion grenades with the exact same build, Touch of Flame, Viking Funeral, and you will absolutely shred the bosses. You're going to be giving you and your teammates a damage buff as well over time, because obviously it stacks and gives you all a buff of damage. So very efficient build as well. You could go for a little bit of a melee build if you have like the Claws of Ahamkara. Where you get an extra melee charge if that's something that you may be interested in, and that might be something to play around with as well. But my actual stats here are basically I want maximum intellect and maximum discipline, as I want my grenade and super as much as possible. My melee, I'm not really going to be using it as I'm just going to be spamming grenades 24/7. That's basically the gist of this build, mainly as well because I like to use the Sunbreakers. That's pretty much it for the Warlocks. Let's move over to the Hunters. So now that we're actually over on the Hunter, you've actually got, again, multiple options this week. Now the obvious choice would be to use your Golden Gun. Golden Gun is an absolutely amazing super. Just quickly alter my subclass as to what I would usually like to use. I think that's about right. And basically this is what I like to run, especially because they actually added, I think it's the incendiary damage to throwing knives as a base. I think that's what they did anyway in one of the patches. But being able to actually just use your throwing knives constantly, Scavenger in my opinion is an extremely underrated perk. Basically picking up ammo packs will reduce your grenade and throwing knife cooldown, so you can actually use your equipment a lot more. It's really fun to do. Now for the super, I'd recommend using Deadeye as well, so it gives you that extra damage. Now the best option for Golden Gun, I will probably use Celestial Nighthawk. Now this thing will absolutely annihilate enemies. I mean, it's going to absolutely, I think it takes roughly about a third of the health, you know, the boss's actual health off, depending on which one you're going up against. I know some have more than others, but obviously this thing is an absolute powerhouse of Celestial Nighthawk. Definitely recommend giving it a go if you don't actually, if you've never tried it before. So another option that you could do, if you're like me and you like Bones of AO as well, then you could actually run something a little bit different. If you also want to use your golden gun, you know, as much as possible, you can actually slap combustion on, and basically what that is actually going to do is basically when you kill an enemy, they're going to explode and, you know, damage enemies around them. So it's actually going to be very effective for clearing ads. Now the next option that you could go for is Night Stalker. Now Night Stalker, again, as I always say, is an amazing build for PvE. By far the best subclass on a hunter in my opinion, especially for team play. If you're playing strikes with a couple of friends, definitely I'd recommend running Night Stalker instead, just so you can give them a damage buff and you're actually making orbs of light constantly, so you can actually give them their super on cooldown faster. You know, it's going to be really efficient to do that. I'd also recommend running Predator. Give it a shot, decreases your shadow shot cooldown. Very underrated perk again in my opinion. That's pretty much going to be it for the hunters. Both for the golden gun and Night Stalker, I would recommend running tier 5 intellect and tier 5 discipline, so you can get your supers and grenades as much as possible. Now if you wanted to go for a bit more of a throwing knife build this week, you could run maximum strength, so you can constantly, you know, get your melee kills with Brawler being a thing this week. That could be a viable build also. That's pretty much hunters out the way. Let's move over to the Titans. So now, last but not least, again we have the Titans. Now you do have a few options this week for the Titans also. Now one thing that I love to do when it's solo burn and Brawler is actually run the Sun Charge with your hammers. Now this thing absolutely is hilarious to use. You absolutely demolish enemies, and it's actually really efficient for damage also. So obviously with Brawler being on when you're going to be shoulder charging in your super, and obviously take into account that your super is solar, so that's 2 damage sources that you're getting the buff from. Absolutely wrecks. So I definitely recommend giving this a shot if you actually have your Sunbreaker subclass fully leveled. A couple of other things that you could try to do with your Sunbreaker Titan this week. You could actually run like a Sunspot build if you wanted to. Again, there's multiple builds you could actually do. You know, don't be afraid to try different things out. Maybe you want to run a melting point build with the, I forgot which helmet it is, insurmountable skull fort helmet, you know, where you gain an additional melee charge. Maybe you just want to speedrun strikes, you want to, you know, melee the bosses twice, get a hell of a lot of damage in that way. That is also more than viable. Another option this week that is more than viable would also be to run your Defender subclass. Now, if you are, again, playing with a couple of friends and you actually want to run Weapons of Light and basically melt the bosses this way with sniper rifles, this is also very efficient. I've done it plenty of times in the past myself, so that is also another option if you want to take it. But I would, you know, by far definitely recommend giving this a go with a Sun Charge. It's the most fun I've had in Destiny in a long time, quite a while back when it was on. So definitely give this a go if you haven't already. It's absolutely hilarious. Both for the Defender and Sunbreaker Titan, again, I would recommend running tier 5 intellect and tier 5 discipline, just so you can get your grenades and your supers as fast as possible. Now if you are running a little bit more of a melee build, say if you want to use your melting point a little bit more, if you're running the insurmountable skull fort, you could run maximum strength as an option as well, so don't be afraid to use that. You could actually also run the Defender Titan with a melee build where you actually just run around punching enemies and create orbs of light. That is also an option that would actually be pretty funny if you want to mess around with it. But anyway guys, hopefully this gives you an idea on what to use this week. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel for future Destiny content. Thank you so much for watching, and peace.